It's a great day to be a Coyote. Welcome, Coyote Nation, to another episode of Back to Back Podcast, where we are going to be bringing you all of your favorite games, memories, and of course, discussion with our fellow Coyotes. As a disclaimer, we have no affiliation to the University of South Dakota. This is a podcast ran by fans for fans. The ideas and comments do not represent the university. Our opinions are our own. Be sure to find us on Twitter at BackToPackSD. With that being said, let's jump in. All right, so I'm very excited for this. This was a very spur of the moment. I don't know what, like maybe the last 40 minutes that we came up with this plan.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
found we found someone from behind enemy lines here. We got Kyle Searle, right? I said that correct?
Yeah, you said it correct.
Perfect. Uh Remember, and what was the podcast that you guys do for Youngstown?
The podcast is Youngstown Penguin Football.
And we gave more your buddy Sal a hard time today, kind of drug him a little bit for his comments. You, on the other hand, seem
Yeah,
more like the logical football fan. So I felt like this was a good extension of an invite.
yeah. So I appreciate it, and for all we got some Penguins viewing the show tonight too. So for everyone that knows Sal, they know his quirks, and him and I like to go back and forth, and he definitely likes to dig um, when he knows you got like a you know fandom for a team or you're high on a team. He likes to just dig at you. So like I said to you guys before the show, I've been on high on the Coyotes for 2 years, and he just likes to run with that and just argue for the sake of it.
That was funny. I know you got some of our players fired up with that sound bit that Mitch ended up
Oh,
finding on him. So
great.
Nothing
I
like
don't
a
know
little
if you guys.
bulletin board material, a couple days before kickoff, right? It doesn't hurt anything, I don't think.
My one Kurt, we were texting, we have a podcast thread. So Kurt was saying, hey, no publicity is bad publicity. So like I said,
That's
we're
true.
just glad we're reaching the Missouri Valley, and we had some fan from South Dakota State in our YouTube chat last weekend. So
Nice.
it's just been a blast to do it, and get to chat with guys like you hopefully in the future, and just have some fun talking about our football teams and something we're passionate about.
Yeah.
I'm pumped about this. This is exactly what I was hoping for when we got this going. There's definitely some great football teams. And Youngstown's no slouch on the history side of things. But Cal, I feel like you can speak to that better than anybody, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so the Penguin tradition, Youngstown football runs deep. Um, 4 national titles, and when you get recruited there, that's definitely a big recruiting point. It's like, hey, we're trying to get back there, we're trying to recruit players to get us into the playoffs and make a run. And it's just unfortunate. Sometimes you gotta when you recruit players, especially at this level, with guys leaving. Um, you might have to rebuild teams, and fans don't like that. But you're going to have to ride some lows and get back to the highs. And hopefully, we have some guys that want to stick around and be bought in to that process and get us back to where we want to get to.
Yeah, exactly. You know, with with this, I would say I've always been one of those people that try to pick a second team to enjoy during conference seasons. Um, I'm a big fan of Iowa State, but I also like watching Oklahoma State kind of thing. Well, obviously a big fan of USD. Youngstown has always gave us a heck of a game. You guys have always had a fun team out there. You kind of been my second team, so this one means a little more to me. And I've enjoyed watching what you guys can do, but I never thought we'd actually have a ex football player from Youngstown join us. Can you talk about your career a little bit?
Yeah, so I played from 2009 to 13. I was a defensive lineman, played all 4 positions across the front. Really started my junior and senior year. Um, and, just it's about it. Like nothing special about me. I
Mm-hmm.
just, try to, take care of my responsibilities. And I think that my teammates would say I'm exactly the guy that's on the podcast. Call it like I see it. And there's one episode where it's like, I got thrown out of practice for getting in one of our linebackers' face for, we had to run a play like 3 times in a row and he kept messing it up. I'm like, dude, what are so get thrown out of practice there. And, just want to play. I just want our guys to play the game the right way. I wanted my teammates to play the game the right way. And, I hope that my teammates thought I played the game the right way. So ultimately, that's what I want to see, get back into this program.
Mhm.
And, yeah, nothing special about me. I'm not a Hall of Fame Youngstown State player like Kurt, like Elkins, who we had on the show last week. I know he's tuning in on the YouTube, but just a hard-nosed football player that wanted to get some wins and get the team back to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, yeah. Speaking of, I mean, Youngstown. So former player, you guys have the podcast that you've been doing. I know you sound like a couple years you guys have been doing that. So, uh, as Jake said, it's always nice to bring somebody else on, especially when it's the upcoming opponent, right? We do our research on our end, but of course, nobody's going to know the team quite like you. You can give a little bit more insight for us. So, if you don't mind, maybe kind of give us just a little bit of rundown of the team. It doesn't have to be super in depth, but maybe just give us a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly, if there is one for the team, and maybe just give some of the listeners some insight on what we can expect to kind of see on Saturday.
So this season has kind of transpired in something that I didn't think was going to happen. We're breaking in a new quarterback, Bo, phenomenal athlete, probably just the best competitor on the roster, hands down. We returned, I think, 4 of our 5 offensive linemen, so we really thought our run game, especially bringing Tyshawn King back, who was all conference last season, would be a big point. And it seems like Tyshawn's getting off to a slower start than we intended. Ethan Wright, another 1-2 punch with Tyshawn, transferred in from Cincinnati. He's been phenomenal. And really just losing 9 out of our 10 top tacklers from our defense last year, who I don't think our defense was, all that bad last year. But we lose 9 out of those top 10 tacklers to the transfer portal. It's hard to replace those guys. And, Youngstown State football has always been next man up mentality, whether it's injury or graduation or whatever the case may be. But when you're replacing pretty much a whole defense and I'm, breaking in a new defensive coordinator, you're going to have a learning curve. And that just doesn't bode well for Missouri Valley football. You know what I'm saying? I know our secondary has a couple guys in from some MAC schools, I believe, and I don't think that they're playing their best football right now, and I don't know if our team's like thinking too much. When you're not comfortable and you're thinking, you're not playing. So I think, like I said on our show, I think we're really, unfortunately, playing for next year.
Yeah, you made a lot of points that I kind of had jotted down before the show as well, right? I think season probably hasn't gone like a lot of us predicted, like we talked about before the show. I think both Jake and I recognize Youngstown as kind of a dark horse or a kind of a playoff contender based off of the way they played last year. So a little surprised to see that, but as you said, when you're missing that many top tacklers on the returning side of defense, that can be a struggle. And it certainly seems like that's kind of been maybe the sore spot for Youngstown is the rush defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it's, rushing from the quarterback. I don't know if Aiden Bowman likes to take off downfield, but, just last week, the leading rusher was the 3rd string quarterback for South Dakota State. So, it's just things like that that are really frustrating because, quarterbacks don't like to get hit. And any opportunity that I was able to hit a quarterback, I would. I mean, I even got
No doubt.
I got a 15-yard penalty one game because I was just like, I'm gonna hit this guy, and it was a close call, but I hit him and I got the flag, and my boss still talks about it this day, 12 years later, or however many years ago that was. So it's just when you get an opportunity to hit a quarterback cleanly. I'm not, talking about 30 plays or anything like that.
Right.
I think that, they're going to think twice about running downfield, but I just don't see that out of our defense. And, making quarterbacks question if they want to run downfield or not yet. And ultimately, I think it does come down to understanding the defense. It's a new defense. We got a lot of young players in there. Maybe not necessarily young players, but players that don't have a lot of experience on the field. And they could be thinking, and they don't want to mess up their assignment. So then they're not getting off blocks once they take care of that assignment. So, and if you're being, on your block or you're fitted in the right position, the ball is going somewhere else. So,
Mm-hmm. No, it is interesting. I was just taking a look at you guys' schedule, and then you got me looking into the stats of the SDSU game. That was just brutal. Now, that's based off at least what I saw, that's not what you guys are normally playing like even this season, even in a down season, right? Like that was just them having a hot day on homecoming.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also like, it's South Dakota State. They're loaded with talent, and they're returning Gronowski, and those guys are just. There's just a culture that's been established there for multiple years that it doesn't matter. The younger guys who aren't playing are good enough to play elsewhere, right? And then once they get their shot, they're playing really well. So, it was just a tale of, they were focused, and we were on the road, and traditionally, one, the Missouri Valley is hard to play on the road, and two,
exactly.
The last couple seasons we've struggled on the road.
Yeah, as you bring up the schedule and a little bit of last week, that brings up a good point that I had also thought about is a lot of road games for Youngstown so far, and to your point, I think not just Youngstown, but I think the Missouri Valley teams play so much better at home than when they have to hit the road historically. And that leads me to a stat that we've been talking about all week for the South Dakota team is that we've never won at Youngstown State. And, and for Youngstown this year, although just 2 wins, both of those were home games that they've won at. So seems like, and I know Valparaiso and Indiana State maybe aren't premier competition, right? That when you look at it in totality, but nonetheless, I think the South Dakota's running on all cylinders right now. We get on the show and talk about like, oh my gosh, we jump on here and every win is 40-17, 40-10, 59-0. These scores that are just something we're not accustomed to, really. It just, or I should say, in the Missouri Valley, no team's accustomed to, right? So, so I think there is, to your point, yes, I think Youngstown's not having the year that they would have hoped to have so far this year. But I don't expect this team to just roll over, come Saturday just because they're down in a spot where they're maybe not thought they'd be in.
No, and I don't really ever expect any team to roll over, even if they're, Indiana State and they're 0-8 or whatever, right? Like, we went on the road to play Indiana State, and I think halftime it was like 7-3 or something, and so it's just the Missouri Valley. Anything can happen on any different, on any given week, and it just comes down to who's focused and who's ready to play. So, I am 2-0 against the Coyotes. I will say that, but I think my junior year, but like to your point, the game was, I think we won 13-10, and then we kind of got in a shootout my senior year. If you guys want to look up the 2013 score, I don't know it off the top of my head. I think it was like 42-34 or 35 or something like that. Something crazy where it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And South Dakota actually had a lead at some point in the fourth quarter. And we're like, come on, guys, like we're better than that. And, so it comes down to, I think, the cohesiveness of the team and how well these guys gel together. I think my junior year roster was way more talented, and I think the senior year roster was way better. on the field because we were tighter as a unit. And like we did everything together. And I mean, it's like the cornerbacks and the receivers and the D line were all hanging out. And it was just like all of us were really kind of, I'm not going to say junior year, we were kind of clicky, but, like guys were just, doing their own thing. So I think that's a big part of any football team and what you see. And as you play more and longer and as you get deeper into the season, that may change. Like these guys may gel a little bit. And I'm hoping for one of those classic Youngstown State, South Dakota, close nail biting games that anything can happen in the fourth quarter, right? So it's all going to come down to turnovers. I think that's what Sal's point was, is, hopefully you guys don't take care of the ball and we do. But
Yep.
Right. Well,
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting. You guys might be catching us at a fairly good time, kind of in the sense of the injuries that we went through against UNI with Tice. I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be playing, and even if he was able to play, are they going to hold him out for South Dakota State next week? And then also losing, honestly, I think one of the best corners in the Missouri, and Mike Reed. I haven't heard much on him as well. Waiting to see what happens there. You guys definitely are catching us at the right time with the potential of maybe looking ahead even too.
So like I said on the show last night, I mean, I don't expect any team to look ahead. I've literally, even when we were playing Valparaiso, I've literally never watched film on a team that we were not playing that week. So for everyone that says, and I mean, we're college football fans, for everyone that says, oh, this team's looking ahead, I'm like, I've never really understood like what that meant, because I was like, how would you do that? Right. Like, but it happens.
Especially in conference play.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in this conference too. And I would consider this is kind of like a Big Ten conference. Sorry to all the SEC and ACC fans out there, but this is a smash mouth conference. Like, depending on who's right, whoever has the best, day up front is typically going to win the game.
Yeah, I'm really curious. This is that game for USD. Last week, I kind of felt like it was a prove it game. Everybody was talking about last year for USD being a one and done kind of thing. Are they going to be able to do it again? Hadn't faced competition up until that point, and even UNI still isn't full competition. Well, now we're going to Youngstown, where I think it's 0-6 in the Ice Castle for USD.
Mm-hmm.
It's another, I mean, you saw the tweet that we put out there, another monkey off the back that we're trying to get. I think it is an interesting point. I do like Sean's prediction personally here. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. But I do want to ask, for Youngstown's offense, you talked about Bo at the quarterback position. Who would be another key player that Coyote fans have to keep an eye out for?
So I think if you got a corner that's injured, so I don't really dig into the injury report. I try to, if I can find it. College injury reports aren't, like the NFL, where they're exactly the most public knowledge. But if you guys have an injured corner, Max Tomczak is a phenomenal athlete. And if him and Bo can link up, if we can establish a run game and, you kind of load the box on us, and if we can get the ball to Max in space, he is electric with the ball in his hands. So definitely number 4, Max Tomczak.
Okay.
I think he's number 4. So definitely a player to keep your eyes on this weekend.
Gotcha. And that'd be your guys' leading receiver, if I remember correctly on that.
Yeah, let's get on the stat sheet.
And I could definitely see that being an issue. When it comes to USD defense, one thing that I do get concerned on with the secondary is their ability to look into the backfield. And so play action, hard slants right down the middle, that has been our kryptonite. We've seen UNI score on, or I shouldn't say score on it. They had that really long play to open the game. SIU scored on it. It's there. But it's also only there once, usually for the team, and then they get it figured out. But that's something definitely to watch for. I think that Max will be an interesting player on their side.
And I think one thing, Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say I think something else to think about as we talk about this is offensively as we look through USD's schedule. Uh, you always pick out games where you think, oh, this team's going to have a really good defense. This team's going to have a really good offense. And obviously that changes as the season goes on because we were even talking about last week. We said, as odd as it seems, UNI is probably the strongest defense we've gone up against this year, which you would have not picked, knowing that you were going to play SIU at home and things like that. So,
Hmm.
kind of similar this week, I think, to UNI last week, is that I think Youngstown might be one of the better offenses that we're going to see, or that we have seen to this point in the schedule, particularly because of Bo and his kind of dual threat ability. That's something else that we haven't seen really against. So,
Yeah.
our defense has been playing phenomenally. So I know they'll be up for the challenge, but that's truly something we haven't seen this year. So I'll be curious to see what the coaches have kind of dialed up for that.
Yeah, I mean, Bo's an electric player. Like I said, he's the best competitor on the team, hands down. And it's gonna come down to if he can get the play or excuse me, if he can get the ball in the hands of playmakers. He can't do it all himself. He can't run the ball 50 times a game. He's not. He's a stocky kid, but he's not a kid that can take all those hits, right? So
Hmm.
definitely need to keep him in the game, keep him healthy, keep him on his feet. We need to get the run game going. So if you include our two running backs and Bo, we'll have three guys that are ready to run the ball. Uh, but there's more than just rushing in football, so we got to get the ball to our receivers.
Yeah. Now, I do want to ask with Bo, what does it take to get him uncomfortable? I feel like that's always the question that people talk about when it comes to quarterbacks, mobile quarterbacks. I feel like it's tougher to get them uncomfortable.
Oh man, you guys want me to give away the game plan?
Please
I
do.
think anytime. Well, I think with any quarterback, I think it's pretty fundamental when you collapse pockets and you get them off their rhythm and you get in their face, like then they got to make split-second decisions. So the good thing about Bo is when he has to make a split-second decision and there's an escape lane, you better hope someone's there to fill it because he can, turn a 3-yard scramble into a 15, 20, 30-yard run. So I think Bo's got it, and Bo's maturing in this process. And this is, from a fan's point of view, because we're not affiliated with the university. We do have some connections in the stadium still and things like that. But, we're not dictated by them like you guys. But lost my point there. But, Bo's got to, Bo's maturing as a quarterback, right? So he played a little bit last year and, he would get some series. So he was really good at what he did last year. Well, now he's got everything on his plate and he's got the whole team to command on offense. So, how does he grow in that position is, week to week is what we need to see. So we need to see him take care of the ball. He's, thrown a few picks the last few games, but, as he matures, I think he'll take care of the ball a little bit better.
Yeah. Now, I would like to flip it over to the other side. I know, obviously, rush defense is definitely the sore spot on this team. But who would you say are your guys' key players to try and help out in that situation?
Uh, one guy that I love to see in the stadium is Hunter Allen. He's been on the defensive line, number 93. He's been on the defensive line for a few years. He's a big kid, can disrupt some stuff in the backfield. And then our safety number 6, I think his name's Saheed. I don't have the roster up, but our safety number 6
Yep.
been, watching games, pops up in the commentary quite a bit. And we got some other guys on the secondary, and I just think that it comes down to are they getting better week to week? It's kind of a
Yep.
cliche coaching thing. Are you can you get better? Throughout the season. So we'll see. I mean, Belichick always said it's not how you start the season; it's how you finish it. And
Yep.
you know, ultimately, we got a tall ladder to climb to finish the season.
And I'll be honest. Here's the hoping for 6-6 for you guys. We'll give you one more loss, but then go on that 4-0 run.
Right. There you go. Yeah, we don't want the win streak to start this week, but after that,
Next week.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So on
And,
our we do a Valley like prediction, or we do we play the schedule game at the beginning of the year. And
Yep.
last year I had Youngstown at 9-2. I thought, it was the best schedule layout that I have seen for the Penguins since I was a player. We had a bye week at the perfect time. We didn't have North Dakota State on the schedule. We had South Dakota State at home. We were playing, who was our money game? Our money game was Ohio State, so chalk that up as a loss. And, I really thought that the schedule was set up, the talent was set up, the returners were set up to go 9-2. We got in a shootout with UNI. We were up in the fourth quarter. We lost that one late. And we got in a shootout with you guys, and we lost. And those are 2 road games. But, also didn't think that South Dakota was going to be the South Dakota that it was last year.
Yep.
This year, preseason, the schedule was just atrocious, top to bottom. We don't have a bye week. Our bye week is the last week of the season, so essentially none. We got to play, every game front to back. We opened up with Villanova, who we lost to in the playoffs last year, who was preseason number 5 in the country.
Yep.
Breaking a new quarterback, all the guys leaving. So I was like, guys, this is a 6-6 team, and I will be jumping up and down with joy if we go 6-6.
Yeah, your guys' schedule, I thought the way you started, yes, Villanova's tough to start the season, but 24-17, I was like, okay, Youngstown's should be close to where I expected. But then that Duquesne game happened, right? Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
That
Duquesne, yeah.
That was a shock. Yeah, that was a shocker. I think that sent some ripples through the Missouri Valley.
It did, and what was hard about that game specifically was Kurt and I were calling the game for Youngstown on ESPN Plus, doing the commentary for it. So, they were like, "Hey, you got to be semi-neutral." So, like every commercial break, we were like, "What are we doing here, boys?" Because traditionally, Duquesne is not like a pushover game. We always kind of get a good game from Duquesne and Dayton and those local schools that come in because they feel like little brother, and a lot of those guys on the roster were passed over by Youngstown, same caliber players, but were passed over, so they always give us a game. Definitely a heartbreaker, and we were kind of wondering, like, do we bounce back from this, or is this kind of look into like what's up next for the Penguins, and then the 70 to whatever loss to Pitt, is not not a great look either.
That was wild too, because they were throwing up big late in the fourth too. Pitt was, weren't they?
So the history of Narduzzi, the Pitt head coach, he has a burning hatred for Youngstown State football because Bill Narduzzi, his dad, was the head coach before Tressel, and they let him go when in the post game there, he's like, "Oh, I told my guys to go out and get one for my dad," and it's like, dude, that was like 40 some years ago, like,
it's pretty odd.
And it's like, why didn't you say that when you played us, 3 seasons ago when it was Pelini and you guys went into overtime with us, right? Like, so I mean, we've traditionally played Pitt tough since my junior year when we beat them. Then they went back a couple years later, lost a 1-score game. The following year, went to overtime with them. So it's just, a double-edged sword there, or just a perfect storm of we were figuring out who we were, and Narduzzi wanted to make Youngstown State pay. So,
yeah.
Well, no, that was an interesting one, and like I said, or like we've said here, right? We all know the grind the Missouri Valley brings, and there's always going to be teams that are up and down and surprises, but there's certainly a to your point, Kyle, like you look at a schedule and you go, okay, I think I can see a path, right? I can see a path to success, and some years easier than others, and some years that you think it's a good path and it's not, and vice versa. So um, certainly understand that. So Jake, should we shift to kind of the keys of the game? We all kind of go through what we think keys to
Yeah.
winning, or I guess doesn't necessarily have to be keys, but just kind of some keys
Key
of the game.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually doing some notes. So yeah, Kyle, feel free to hang out with us because then we'll jump into predictions afterwards. So I know the Kyle fans would love to hear yours on that. I've been obviously hearing from Kyle himself on this. I've been going back and forth on who my key player was on the offensive side. I'm gonna throw it up to Bryce Henderson on the right tackle, left-handed quarterback. Got to protect the blind side. I think he's gonna help set the tone, allowing Aiden to have time. Obviously, no offense, Kyle. I feel bad saying this in front of it, but the rush team, I'll have to admit, I don't think I see them having a problem with this. I don't know if we can match what SDSU did, but seldomly is your worst rusher averaging 8 yards a carry in a game. So,
yeah. I think you're right with that one. I think I have more keys to the game, I should say, not key players, but the
okay.
keys to the game. One of them I had was run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Right. I mean, if I have it right, I think Youngstown's ranked 119th out of 123 teams in rush defense. The Yotes have two of the best, if not, or excuse me, the number 1 and number 3 ranked running backs in FCS football. Uh, Again, Kyle, sorry, but this is a matchup nightmare or dream, depending on which side you're looking at it from, right? So I think we're going to go to the run early and often, as we should, as we've done all year. However, I will say a caveat to that as well is that if I'm Youngstown, I think you pretty much have to sell out and stop the run, because if you don't stop the run, the game will be over so quickly. So I expect Youngstown to put 8+ in the box, force us to throw the ball. And that kind of leads me to probably I guess this would be a key player, is really looking for Aiden Bauman to have another super efficient day like he did against UNI, because really UNI brought a similar game plan that I think Youngstown's going to bring, right? Sell out on the run, right? They were stacking the box up, force Bauman to throw, and of course, like we said, he played one of his best games of his career. Not high volume, but from an efficiency perspective, didn't have an incompletion until close to halftime. So I think we'll see that. Unfortunately, Aiden's been just as good as the run game. So if you're Youngstown, I don't really know if there's a great formula. There is a path, right? There's for some turnovers. It just doesn't feel like there's a super great path for them offensively, anyways. So I do have one other key from the defensive side, but Jake, I'll let you chime in, or Kyle, if you want to chime in on anything for keys of the game before I hit that one.
Yeah. So
if you have anything, go for it.
Yeah, I'll just take my keys of the game straight from my show on Wednesday night. Is buckle the chin strap and get off blocks and hit somebody. You gotta stop the run first, right? And I said you guys seem to be a run first defense, and if you can't, or run first offense, and if we can't stop the run, there's no reason to pass the ball. So definitely got to sell out and stop that run.
Now, this is more for Sal, just so you're aware, Kyle. I did listen to your guys' show about USD, and he called Aiden a yak merchant. I heard that, and I know he doesn't appreciate that because I don't know if that was intentional to dip out. You wanted to run away from.
No. I don't know. I might have just dropped some internet point there, but
the timing was pretty solid
for your YouTube clip. Be like, oh, we got him to leave. No, so I think Sal just came up with something on the spot because I called him out for Aiden sitting number 2 with yards per pass attempt. Like I said, Sal loves to troll, regardless of if he agrees with you or not. He's just going to argue with you. So. But like I said, it's been a lot of fun just to reach, fans of other teams, and kind of like
Yep.
we didn't really know we were making that much noise. So, I told Sal, let me just read this. I was like, this is what I said to him. I was like, something like, I'm Sal Guayardo, your Penguin podcast host, bringing, bulletin board material to the Missouri Valley team near you. So, he's definitely going to have a hot take. I call him, if you listen to our show, I call him Freezing Cold Take Sal, at least once an episode.
That's
Oh,
funny.
that's good. That's good.
I was gonna say, he said that, it made me chuckle because the first thing I thought of was the wheel wrap to Tice against you and I. That was a 50-yard bomb. So, but you are right. We do have the capabilities of dinking and dunking, or you have somebody that'll just take the top off, and it's fun to watch. But I think let's flip it to the defensive side on there.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of mentioning earlier. I think defensively for the Yotes, we already talked about it, but you have to stop QB1 for Youngstown,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think everything from statistically speaking and from what you've talked about, Kyle, is that Bo kind of is the offense to this point. A lot of it runs through him, so that's also the one thing that going into this game that is probably the biggest question mark for our defense because we haven't seen a dual threat quarterback like Bo.
Yep.
So I think it'll be good for this team to see a quarterback like that because we're going to continue to see it throughout the Missouri Valley, right at the SDSUs and NDSU. They've got mobile quarterbacks as well, so it'll be good to see that. But I think if we can stop that, particularly the rushing from Bo, I think there's a really good opportunity for this defense to do what it's done all year and really keep this score low from Youngstown.
Yeah. I mean, you and I are right in line with each other on this. It all comes down to containment. Being able to have the D line create a nice umbrella around Bo, keep him in the pocket, make him throw. I was looking at stats. He is averaging an interception a game. So the secondary's just got to be ready because it's going to come one way or another. It's going to be there. And it really has to be the ability to lean on Gary Bryant, middle linebacker on this. Somebody that can drop into that coverage, but you're going to be the quarterback spy the entire game. And if you can make Bo's life hell, I don't see how this is even a contest then.
Yeah, well, like I said, Bo's got to take the next step in this, progression of growing into this team. He's a young quarterback. Hopefully, he's pick free, interception free.
Yep.
And to Sal's point, he did tell me not to apologize for him on the show, so I'm not going to apologize for him. But to Sal's point, like we do need more possessions than South Dakota, and whether that's in the form of time of possession and us, winning the turnover battle is going to be a critical point in the game, and hopefully, that leads to a classic, heart attack style game versus USD for Youngstown.
Yeah, exactly. And now I will say that anybody that's watching, feel free to get your predictions geared up because I think we'll flip it to the prediction side of things.
Yeah,
I'd really prefer if this isn't a heart attack game, though.
Yeah, I don't want any part of that either. I don't want any part of that. So, you want me to go first? Score prediction?
Let's go.
All right.
Start
All
us
right.
up.
So, I think looking through my notes, we hit on a lot of it today. Now, I will say, we've never won in Youngstown.
Mm-hmm.
That hurts to say because it doesn't feel right as many times as we've played, as many close games that we've had. So the games have always been close as of late, right?
Yep.
Think about last year, time expiring field goal. So I think, the term trap game, right on cue, Larry.
Yep.
The term trap game, right, could definitely be thrown around for this.
Yep.
So with that, this team is none of that. This team we've talked about this. This team is, I think, exceedingly better than last year's team. That was outstanding.
Yes.
From everything you hear from coaches, they are laser focused. There's no shenanigans going on. Even when they went to Wisconsin, they didn't even really do a stadium walk just to see the stadium like they do sometimes. So this
Yep.
team's laser focused. I don't think there's any look over for them. I don't think there's any trap game. I think if we go out and it's a pretty dominant win, I have a score prediction of 42-20 USD, and I think it'll be a pretty convincing win where we're probably not competitive in the fourth quarter like we've seen here recently.
Yeah. I've been going back and forth. Obviously, history is one thing, but as we know, you can't live off of history. This game is not decided because we won 34-31 last season. This game isn't decided because we got blown out by Kyle in 2012.
There was no
my
blowouts.
two
We were
big
heart attack games.
I think there was one that I saw, but that was when we first joined, and maybe even before you. But I will say, it comes to two things that make me nervous. One, Youngstown's breaking out the Penguin logo helmets again, and those are probably my favorite helmets I've ever seen. I'm a guy that you play better in uniforms that you like. But the second thing that is my biggest concern is between the ears for Coyotes. That's our biggest competitor this season, as of right now, is beating overthinking, stepping in, getting in the wrong spot, just going out and playing the game. It's wild to say, this has been a heck of a climb by the Yotes, but we're by far the better team. And so with it, I've gone back and forth just because of the cardiacs, but I'm going to buck history. I'm going 45-10 with a dominant performance by the Russian.
Okay. Yeah. So, I would like to think that the Youngstown State Penguins are better than Murray State, Northern Iowa, Southern Hill. In terms of, do I think you guys have the better team right now? I think that you guys have shown that from front to back of the season. However, well, not however yet, but you guys have taken care of your business. So good teams beat the teams that they're supposed to, and that's exactly what you've done.
Yep.
So if this Penguins team takes the next step forward and plays to the level of the talent that they have on this roster, or at least that we're told it's on this roster, I think that we could hopefully catch you guys slipping a little bit. It's, geographically, we are the furthest team east. It is hard. It was hard to travel west, as a player to the Dakotas. I always love the Dakotas, though. Those are great road trips. You just totally unplug and, nothing to bother you. But coming east,
Yep.
you're in a rural environment. You're coming to an urban environment. You see the big Sandball Stadium, the Ice Castle. This might be another factor. It might be cold for you boys. I don't know. You guys like the, the warm, climate-controlled environment. So, hopefully – all things kind of just come together for the Penguins and the home field advantage. So I'll give you a little different, score prediction than what I gave on the show. And if your fans want to go give us a listen, they can hear my rants on our show. But let me get the Penguins, just because I'm going to be a little bit of a homer.
Hey, that's all right.
38-35.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I am jealous of you guys because it is perfect tailgating weather. I will say that. So you guys you're getting lucky over there.
Unfortunately, I am not going to be in attendance. I was supposed to call the game on ESPN Plus again, and I got a wedding. So I don't know who gets married in football season, but it should be a crime.
That's
outlaw it.
I think we can all agree on that. No doubt about it.
It's got to go. It's got to go.
It's got to go. Oh, God.
All right. You know what? I'm going to fully allow it. I went on to the Wisconsin podcast and I said USD was going to win there. So I'll allow opposing teams coming in being the homer because I've been on that side of the field for you as well.
Just so your fans know, just so your fans know, I was completely, different end of the spectrum on my show. So go give us a listen, get our numbers up, boys. Well, I'm sure you guys have already listened to it. You blasted it on Twitter, but if you haven't, go check it out. And let me just say, your fans are being really conservative with their scores. I mean, Larry Holtgren, is he a normal on your show?
That's actually
'Cause,
my grandpa. He's our biggest fan.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, 27-7, you guys are averaging over 40 points a game, and our defense is not great, and we're losing games by 50, 60 points. So it's just, I'll take a 27-7.
Yeah. Depends on where you look, because you did catch us off guard with your 13.5. We found on Reddit, FCS or whatever, I think it ended up being like 23.5 is what we saw as USD favorite. But the books are all over the place on these.
Yeah, so Sal finds those, and he uses one specific site, and I can't remember where they are, that he does. And he might have also just put a typo and slapped a 1 on there instead of a 2. Who knows? So
Yep.
Well, either way, I'm looking forward to Saturday. It's always good to watch FCS and Missouri Valley football. So, Kyle, we really appreciate you jumping on with us today. It's a great insight, and hopefully we'll be in touch here for the future.
Yeah, man, I had a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys, and just the joshing around on Twitter and stuff, and being receptive to me jumping on here with your fans, and hopefully we get a good game this Saturday.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, with that being said, I think we call it a night, guys. Thanks for joining us, Kyle.
For sure.
Thanks, Kyle. And as always, go Yotes.
Go Yotes.
Go Penguins.